I'm Lee Spencer with the RacinBoys, and I'm with J C Agajanian Jr. And you probably can't begin to tell me how much this event means to your family.
Well, you're exactly right. This event means everything to our family. This is the 78th running of the event. It's the longest running open wheel event. No, it's the second longest open wheel event in the country. Of course, the longest running is the Indy 500, so we have to be careful there. But we had cars in the Indy 500, and promoting this event and continuing the promotion, because this dates back to the 1920s in Los Angeles. And after a while, the property it was real close to Beverly Hills. CBS Studios is on that property now. So the track went away, just like so many other tracks in Southern California. And in 1950, it was the last Turkey Night Grand Prix. In 1955, J C Agajanian told his promotion and publicity department to get this race back going. And he wanted to be the one to continue the legacy of the Thanksgiving Night Grand Prix. So since 1955 to present day, it's been the Aggie years of the Turkey Night Grand Prix.
How did your father's love affair with racing begin?
It's an interesting story. My dad was a young man, probably in his mid-teens, and he wanted to be around racing. He went and got a jalopy. He put it in the garage, and he was working on it. And his father, James T. Agajanian, a very stately businessman, came home one day from work and saw this junker in the garage, and he told his son, JC, come over here. Yeah, Dad, what do you need? He goes, what is that in the garage over there? And my dad told him, it's a race car, Dad. I'm going to be a race car driver. And my grandfather said, oh, you are you? Well, then you have 3 things you need to do. Number 1, go into your bedroom and pack your bags. Number 2, go into your mom's room and kiss her goodbye. And as you're leaving the house, number 3, you're going to need to change your name. Now, that was probably the worst threat of all of them, because if a cousin saw you walking down the street and you would change your names, he doesn't say hi to you anymore. You're persona non grata. You're out. So my dad said, now listen, Dad, can't we do something about this? And my grandfather told him, if you stop your plans to be a race driver, if you will work on the car, and he realized that working on an automobile is a great thing. You learn all about it, the internal combustion and so on. And if you'll do that, I'll help you with your expenses. I'll help you buy parts. I'll help you get your car on the track. And in essence, my grandfather was one of the first sponsors on a race car. So it went on from there. My dad, even though rumors are that he snuck off and did a couple more races, he did listen to his dad. There was a lot of people that got hurt back in those days when there weren't roll cages or even much of a roll bar. And my grandfather's right. He didn't want to lose his eldest son that was carrying the family name. So it went on from there, and he went into owning cars like he did at Indianapolis, and then promoting races. And because of his contact at Indianapolis, he brought big-time automobile racing to the West Coast, and he'd bring these drivers back to the West Coast to race the Indy Stars, because they wanted to do what Aggie wanted, because they might get a ride in his car. And we've won the Indy 500 4 times.
We still see the Agajanian name quite a bit on cars in all sorts of disciplines. How has it been for the family to carry on the tradition?
You know, it's our honor to carry that tradition on. And Brother Kerry is responsible for some of the national stuff. Kerry and Mike Kerb, who's a very dear friend and a great race fan and a dear friend of my father's. I remember every Saturday night, Mike Kerb was the lieutenant governor of California, but he wanted to be at Ascot. He'd sit in my dad's special booth, and just outside the booth, or a couple inside and a couple outside, were Secret Service guys, and they'd come to the races too, because they had to keep an eye on Mike. So Mike has been involved in racing. Mike is involved in IndyCar racing with us for many years. He's involved with the Andretti Autosport team, which we are now, and Brian Herta. We're on Brian Herta's car, and that car carries the famous number 98. And you were talking about the number earlier of the race car. even when we won a national championship, we didn't run number one, which we were entitled to. No one ran number one that year. We continued to run number 98 on his car. So that 98 number has been very special, and that's the reason tonight you're not going to see a 100-lap main event. About 4 or 5 years ago, to honor my dad, we changed it to the 98 lap and the 98 running of the event. So not the 98 running of the event, but a 98 lap race, which is the only one in the country.
I think I saw you and your family this morning at the Marriott, just bringing generation after generation. You know, we talk about a lot of racing having attendance problems, but the top events, they're always sold out. And I think a lot of that has to do with bringing the next generations along. And if you had to look at the scheme of things, what is it about, enticing that next generation? You see them in their phones all the time. You see them on their iPads. How do you get them how do you foster that love of racing for the next generations to come?
Well, it's not only having the race out there amongst the fans, out there on TV and social media. What is really the important part is Dad bringing their sons and daughters to the races. And the family you saw there, I'm J C Agajanian Jr. My son, whose family you saw, he's J C Agajanian III. He has a little 5-year-old, and that's J C Agajanian IV. And so, J C IV. I was just mentally counting back. Yeah, he's J C Agajanian IV, and that's the next generation. He loves midget racing. Of course, he's come to all the Turkey Night Grand Prix since he was born, but that's what you need to do. You need to introduce these youngsters, the new fans, to racing, and they'll be fans forever as soon as they see it going. So that's the important part. So yes, it's important to get the word out about racing on TV, on the radio, online, and so on. But just as important, it's important for the dad to bring their kids to the races.
How did the idea for the trophy come about? Because I've seen a lot of great vintage photos of your father and in the hat, when men dressed as gentlemen and not the hoodies and the jeans and the boots we see today at the dirt tracks. But I mean, they were, they looked like, the gentlemen of their day. But how did you all settle on the hat?
Well, my father early on took to wearing a Stetson Resistol. That was the name of the model. And he just enjoyed that hat. He just loved that hat, and that became his trademark. Back in the early 40s and so on, he wore that hat back to Indianapolis, and he would wear a cowboy hat. He was an Armenian cowboy, but nonetheless a fan of that Western style. But he wore a suit and tie, and not just a 10-cent suit. I mean, it was top of the line, and he would dress to the nines, and that's how he felt he was supposed to do to represent racing. So the hat, the suit, the white Cadillac that he was known for, all of that was part of his brand. We didn't call it a brand back there. We just said Aggie's known for this stuff. But that's how it started, and that's how he taught his kids. Now, I'm wearing a pair of slacks and a long sleeve dress shirt, but it's not the full Aggie style. I should have a tie and a sports coat on. I generally do. It's a little more comfortable out here in Ventura and a little more leisurely, but the point is dressing the part, looking like you're part of the event, that you're a promoter, that you are taking it seriously, and you want to look good and you want your sport to look good. And he was very much in favor of that. That's what he taught us.
2 years ago, you all moved the race to Ventura Raceway. Have you been happy with how things have rolled here, and do you see the future of the Turkey Night Grand Prix here for a while?
I really do. I believe that, and I'll tell you a little more about the trophy. You asked about it, and I didn't finish that discussion. But Jim Naylor is a true racer. He's the guy on the blade out on the track. He's the guy in the water truck. He's the guy that works this track. He doesn't just do the announcing, which he does. He runs the racetrack, but he loves racing. He knows what it stands for. He knows that J C Agajanian brought big-time automobile racing to the West Coast, and he appreciates that fact. He looks up to my father, and he is just thrilled to be working with the Agajanian family. Now, you were talking a few minutes ago about the hat on the trophy. The trophy we refer to as the Aggie. It's the Thanksgiving Night Grand Prix perennial trophy with all the names of the winners on it. Doug Stokes was the PR man extraordinaire at Irwindale Raceway. Now, he looked at me and he said, "There's no perennial trophy for Turkey Night. Well, what's the deal?" I said, we give out trophies, but we've never even thought about doing a perennial trophy like at Indy, like the Borg Warner. It'd be a beautiful trophy and all the names and each year and all that. We've never done it. He said, "I've got an idea. Do you think you could get me one of your dad's cowboy hats? One of his own hats?" I said, "Geez, Doug, it's been a while, but let me go try." I went to Beverly Hills, where my dad's house is, in Truesdale Estates, actually. And I went over to my mom and I said, "Mom, does Dad have any hats left in his where he kept them all, or in his closet or any of that?" And she said, "Come on, honey, let's go look." So we went in there and looked, and we found a Stetson hat box. She said, "Let's take a look in this one." We took a look, and she pulled out a hat that was not brand new. It was a race-worn hat that my dad had worn at Indianapolis and so on. She said, "Honey, I have one left." I said, "Mom, we're going to put it on the Turkey Night trophy." And so I said, "Can I have it?" She said, "Sure, you can take that one. It's a very special thing you're doing." I took the hat, I gave it to Doug Stokes. He had it bronzed, and now that Aggie trophy, which is 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 tiers high of wood, I mean, it's just a classic-looking trophy, and at the top of it is the bronzed J C Agajanian Stetson Resistol hat, one that he wore. He had that bronze, and it's sitting just on the top of the trophy, and just sort of at an angle. Doug said, I wanted to look like Aggie just walked by the trophy and just hung his hat on the trophy and walked on by. And that's what it does look like, and that's all thanks to Mr. Doug Stokes, his vision of the trophy, and taking it and doing it himself out of his own pocket. He did that himself and presented it to us. It's just unbelievable, and it's been at every racetrack where Turkey Night is, of course.
Well, congratulations, JC, for carrying on the tradition. And I got to tell you, the track right here at the beach, I mean, literally at the beach, just kind of screams California.
It's perfect. It's the battle at the beach, and this track, and it's wonderful to be by the beach. It helps keep the track moist. And the good Lord watered the track last evening. We had a little rainstorm come over, but that's perfect. Nobody waters a track better than the Lord above. So it's going to be a very good track. That's why Jim Naylor was on the tractor himself early this morning preparing the track. It's going to be a wonderful event. It's going to be 98 laps of some of the most unbelievable racing by some of the best race drivers in the country, and it'll all be right here at Ventura Raceway.
Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.